Getting there, we're told, is where we're going. Are we getting there? Because as we just discussed with Mike McKee, it looks like yesterday we took a big step backwards in terms of the deficit. You're going to have to fill a big hole, maybe $74 billion.
Well, first, it's great to have the president, the vice president, Ivanka, the administration, all on board, right? And it's all hands on deck to get tax relief to hardworking men and women all across this country. And yesterday we talked about some of the specifics. We talked about provisions related to small business owners. Our goal is to bring down those rates to World War II levels, the lowest level since World War II, because that's the engine of economic growth. We talked about the child tax credit and the importance that is to hardworking men and women. Yes, and we also need to address the deficit, and it is a top priority for us both to make sure that we are cutting spending, but also getting this economy growing. And that's what tax relief will mean. It will mean economic growth, which we have not seen. We've had a stagnant economy, and that is why this is so important that we move forward.
So, as I've said before, I don't find a Democrat or a Republican who's against tax reform, if you just describe it that way. The question is, how are you going to pay for it? Exactly what are you going to do? So how are you going to pay for it? If you're $74 billion short, which is what we're told right now, are you going to eliminate the individual mandate under Obamacare?
We are still working on all of those issues. So those are the very discussions that we are having. We're deciding how best to move forward. But we've laid out a framework that the House, the Senate, the President have agreed to for providing tax relief to every single person in this country. And now we have to work on those details. And that's the give and take every day.
And what, from your experience, matters the most to the other members, your colleagues that you have to deal with? I mean, state and local taxes is something that's been a hot button for at least some of them who come from districts whose constituents really could be hurt. What are you going to do about that?
Well, we want everyone, no matter where they live in this country, to experience the benefit of lifting the tax burden. And so, you know, there are members that represent some very high tax states where the state and local taxes are extremely high. And we've added some provisions, the expanded child tax credit, the dependent care credit. We now have lifted up to $10,000 per person on property tax credit. So those are the provisions that we are adding that target those very individuals. But we want both tax cuts, we want the tax relief to hardworking men and women, but we also want to get this economy growing. And that more jobs, increasing wages, those are our two top priorities. Bringing jobs back from overseas, where we've seen companies that are relocating or foreign companies buying them out. So all of these reasons are why it's so important that we move forward. There's a lot of details to it, as you're pointing out.
There are a lot of details. We also are hearing that we're going to get a Senate proposal maybe as soon as tomorrow. And one of the things they are considering reportedly is delaying the time at which that reduction to 20% of corporate tax would go in. Are you open to that, delaying that? Because you could save, as I understand, $100 billion by that.
My number one goal is to get tax relief on the president's desk. I hope that we can get the relief as soon as possible. And so I have some concerns about delaying the corporate tax reduction. We have the highest corporate tax right now in the world. It's impacting our competitiveness, job creation. So that's why we had wanted it to take effect immediately, the 100% expensing for small business owners immediately, because we want to jumpstart this economy. We think that is very important. But all of these are part of the legislative process where the House and the Senate and the President will be working together to address all of these questions. I am most excited that the Senate is moving forward as quickly as they are. We remain on track with a goal of getting this bill out of the House by Thanksgiving and onto the President's desk by Christmas.